How do we build memories? And what is the earliest one you can remember? What is the capacity of the human brain? And how do we recall memories day to day? We'll also discover how real a photographic memory is, and what the movies get wrong about this type of superhuman ability. Join us as we discover the very limits of the human body.
I'm Stu, this is Debunked, and we're here to sort the truths from the myths and the facts from the misconceptions.
What is the limit of our memory?
Ever worried that you're going to forget all the incredible stuff you've done, or all the amazing people you've met?
Well, there's no need to panic. We won't all be slotting micro SD cards into our temples anytime soon. And that's because your brain is massive. And mine, to be fair.
The human brain is home to about 100 billion neurons, and each neuron can make at least 1,000 connections to other neurons. These connections are known as synapses, and it's electrical pulses firing between neurons across these synapses that help encode memories. In total, we're packing in 100 trillion potential data points, and when our neurons team up, they're not just handling one memory, but many, increasing our capacity for storage significantly. In 2016, after studying the brains of rats, particularly the hippocampus area, which is associated with long-term memory, neuroscientists announced,
Our new measurements of the brain's memory capacity increase conservative estimates by a factor of 10 to at least a petabyte.
Other experts in this field have said the brain could store up to 2.5 petabytes. Either way, whether it's 1 or 2.5, it's a lot, since a single petabyte is 1,000,000 gigabytes.
But what's that in more relatable terms?
Well, 1 petabyte is equivalent to roughly 2,000 years worth of music MP3s, being played one after the other, while 1.5 petabyte is equivalent to 10 billion social media photos, and 2.5 petabytes would be the equivalent of recording nearly 350 years of continuously streaming YouTube content, which sadly isn't nearly enough, as 82 years worth of content is uploaded every single day.
How far back can we remember?
In terms of how far back you can remember, previous studies have concluded that 3.5 years old was the earliest humans can remember. But a recent study that reviewed decades of data wound the clock back an extra year. The study found that we systematically misdate our earliest memories due to an effect termed telescoping.
The more remote a memory is, the telescoping effect makes you see it as closer. It turns out they move their earliest memory forward a year to about 3.5 years of age. But we found that when the child or adult is remembering events from age 4 and up, this doesn't happen.
This essentially means the average earliest memory humans can recall is from 2.5 years old. Memories that people believe they had earlier than this, like being a baby for example, are most likely fictional. This period of time is referred to as childhood or infantile amnesia. Studies have shown that the neurological processes needed to form autobiographical memories before the age of 2 are not fully developed. Instead, these fictional memories are just recalled imagery constructed from old photos, home videos, and even shared family stories. Sorry about that.
Can you have a photographic memory?
But before we get into that, as this series has covered so many topics, we wanted to release them in bite-sized, easily digestible chunks for YouTube Shorts and the like. And to save us a whole heap of time, we partnered up with Vizard to transform our long-form episodes into what we hope to be viral clips. You can let AI automatically pick and edit the videos, or you can write a prompt to get exactly what you need. Within minutes, you'll have a selection of edits to choose from, and if you want to tweak them for YouTube Shorts to get them just right, you can in the video editor. Or set it and forget it. Just toggle on auto schedule and post to TikTok. Set your frequency and posting schedule in advance, and Vizard will automatically plan your content, schedule it, and post the videos to your connected social accounts. Just sit back, relax, and watch your content take off hands-free. Monitor all your posts in one place, see how AI boosts your workflow, or tweak the schedules and edit the posts yourself. Never miss a trend. Click on my link in the description and start yourself off with a free plan today. Right, remind me where we were up to.
Can you have a photographic memory?
The notion of a photographic memory has been around for longer than I can remember.
And it's been thrown around in movies and TV series like a relatively common human talent.
I have a photographic memory.
I got photographic memory.
Photographic memories.
You have a photographic memory.
You have a photographic memory.
I got a photographic memory.
The term implies the ability to retrieve a memory stored in your brain like a photograph that you can scan across and zoom in and out of, or like accessing entire pages of text with impeccable precision.
Your whole photographic memory thing, how does that work?
You want me to memorize these?
Yeah.
There are plenty of examples of people who have been said to have a photographic memory throughout history.
Could draw a detailed portrait of someone after a single meeting. Could reportedly recite entire books after reading them once. Can recall where every player is during any point of a full game. Capable of drawing the entire skyline of a city after a helicopter ride.
These people have demonstrated in one form or another that they can recall scenes in great detail.
But has this superhuman power, in the true sense of the word, ever actually been proven to exist?
Firstly, let's learn how human memory works. Memory is immediately broken into two forms that you'll be familiar with: long-term and short-term. Short-term memory is utilised for small amounts of information stored for a short period of time, like remembering the appearance of someone who you met just a moment ago. Do you remember what that guy looked like? That's your short-term memory working. This encompasses working memory, which kicks in when someone tells you a Wi-Fi password or a phone number and you're still trying to get to the right menu option to type it in. The average human can store around 7 numbers in sequence. Can you remember that number? Most phone numbers are 10 digits, which is why we tend to struggle. But the longest recorded number memorized after a brief amount of time is 30 randomly sequenced digits. On the other side of short-term memory, we have sensory memory, which is used for remembering sights and sounds that you've just experienced. Short-term memory can be transferred to long-term memory or be totally forgotten within a few seconds. When you're remembering a memory, you are talking about consciously recalling a long-term memory, and specifically an explicit memory. These can be episodic, which are formed from life experiences, like your first day at school or the first time you saw your favourite movie, or they can be semantic. These are facts and general knowledge, like what you're learning right now. On the other side of long-term memory, we have implicit memories, which are unconscious. These can be procedural, things like motor skills, learning to walk, swim, ride a bike, and so forth, or they can be made through priming, which is how your response to one stimulus affects how you respond to another, usually relating to words and objects, and they affect the way you perceive the world in an everyday sense. It's a bit like the word association game. If I say doctor, you say nurse. If I say yellow, you say
Banana!
So, looking at all this, where does a photographic memory sit?
Well, it doesn't. In its true form, a photographic memory has never been demonstrated.
The theory of a human instantly processing an image in exact detail and storing it as a permanent memory is essentially just Hollywood fiction. What has been scientifically proven, however, is the next best thing: an eidetic memory and a highly superior autobiographical memory, or HSAM. HSAM is a condition that enables those who have it to recall the exact dates of past events in great detail. For example, they may be able to tell you what they ate for lunch, what they were wearing, and what the weather was like on a specific day over a decade ago. Jill Price, who was the first person to be diagnosed with this condition in 2000, explains.
Since I was 11, I have had this unbelievable ability to recall my past. I can take a date between 1974 and today and tell you what day it falls on, what I was doing that day, and if anything of great importance occurred.
Interestingly enough, a study that tested 20 people with HSAM using tasks like memorizing patterns, verbally recalling memories, and remembering faces and occupations found that they were only marginally better than test subjects without HSAM. A second study looking at 30 people with the condition found they were no better at acquiring new memories, meaning
they do not appear to be superior learners.
they are instead better at
Retrieval of these detailed memories.
HSAMers, as they're colloquially known, have been identified as having obsessive behaviours.
Some people call me the human calendar. I run my entire life through my head every day.
Studies have suggested that this habitual recalling of memories contributes to the ability to store long-term memories. In fact, a 2012 study made a link to obsessive-compulsive disorder, identifying enlarged regions of the brain that occur in both HSAM and OCD.
Despite all of these studies, less than 100 people have actually been recorded as having highly superior autobiographical memory.
The other type of superior memory is called eidetic memory, which is often incorrectly used interchangeably with the term photographic memory. It is, however, probably the closest phenomenon to the fanciful photographic memory.
Sheldon has kind of a photographic memory.
Photographic is a misnomer. I have an eidetic memory, as I've told you many times.
In this example, an eidetica is shown an unfamiliar image for no more than 30 seconds. Then, when this image is obscured from view, they are able to continue to see the image as if it was still physically in front of them. Much like the idea of a photographic memory, an eidetica can scan around and zoom in and out of the image and describe it in great detail. However, while those with an eidetic memory claim to still actually view the image within their visual field, tests have shown that their accuracy is far from perfect, with some described details being altered or even invented, demonstrating that these eidetic images are actually reconstructed from memory and externally projected. They are not actually photographic in nature. Unlike the notion of a photographic memory, eidetic images can only be held for a short period of time, lasting between 30 seconds and a few minutes. Interestingly, this ability seems to be limited to adolescents, with around 10% of children aged 6 to 12 years old possessing this ability. But it appears that the development of language and verbal skills during adolescence disrupts the visual memory system that is crucial for an eidetic memory. There is one adult, however, who has been recorded as having an eidetic memory. This was recorded in the scientific journal Nature in 1970 by researcher Charles Strohmeyer III from Harvard University. Among other extraordinary memory claims, Strohmeyer's test subject, a woman codenamed Elizabeth, was recorded as being able to
combine a stereogram presented to her left eye with the image of a corresponding stereogram seen with her right eye the day before. The result was a figure perceived in depth.
For illustrative purposes, this example is a simplified version. The one Elizabeth identified involved thousands of dots. However, shortly after this publication, Strohmeyer married Elizabeth, and she refused to complete any further tests. This level of eidetic image recall has never been replicated, resulting in a lot of skepticism from the scientific community about the legitimacy of Strohmeyer's claim.
So, while the notion of a photographic memory may be an utter myth, in a sense we all have a sort of photographic memory, because humans are better at remembering things they've seen rather than things they've heard. Let me know what facts you've taken away from this video. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.